Hello, this is Savannah from Chicken Soup for the Truth or Soul, and I hope that you are having a blessed day. Today I'm going to be talking about something that I don't know if anyone's ever talked about before, which is the key to discovering just how many Freemasons are around you and have influenced your life is all in the initials. I'm going to say it like this. First initial, middle initial, last name is typically the layout here. Sometimes it will be the middle initial. It will be first name, middle initial, last name. Sometimes it will be 3 initials in the last name, as in first name initial, 2 middle name initials, and last name initial. Some examples of this are J.R.R. Tolkien, which is on this list here, and W.E.B. Du Bois. A lot of these people on this list here are only a handful of many, many more examples. I'm going to go in depth here. I'm going to go big picture and I'm going to go small picture. I'm not going to read this entire article, but this gives a good scope as to how many people have gone by this formatting here I just said. So it's a long list, and it just keeps going and going and going and going. So that's why I said I'm not going to read it. But this little splurge here explains a lot. Some famous names on this list that might stick out. O.J. Simpson, K.D. Lang, George R.R. Martin, F. Murray Abram. So there's different variations too. Louis C.K. See how they've mixed it up? J.K. Rowling. See, I only gave 3 examples of how they can format their name there. Those are the main examples. Those are the ones. The one I'm going to be focusing on today, however, is first initial, middle initial, last name. This is a map of Atlanta from 1919. I'm on the Library of Congress website here. I'm going to go full screen because we're going to be zooming in all around here. I want to highlight where my cursor is. See, there's this building here. This is from 1919. I want you to get a gist for how long they've been doing this. This isn't just they're in Hollywood, they're an author. This is not just a little thing here. This didn't just start yesterday. This didn't start in your parents' generation. This didn't start in your grandparents' generation. This is how they identify themselves amongst society. And how I said that they've gotten creative now and they've started to do things beyond this first initial, middle initial, middle initial, last name formatting I said here is it's not the rule, it's their secondary option there. So I'm zooming in now, as far as it'll let me. L.W. Rogers Co. Go over here to the left. See, none of these places exist anymore. I can guarantee it. But the fact that they did, and it was documented on this map like this, I've just found it so fascinating. R.C. Cassell. Zoom over here. W.E. Flooding. Just know that what I'm saying here is implicating so much. All this means is that you're living in a cardboard town. Everything was planned out. Everything was planned out, laid out. Those who decided to submit to Satan, like, they get their own perch in this world while they're here. And then when they go, it's like they were never here, which is why I said these businesses are not here today. They got their own stoop because they didn't know what they got into when they went in that lodge and they took those oaths. But here's the thing, now it's solidified them a corner. Sometimes literally, because a lot of them like to get that corner because they're big on the cornerstone there in masonry, but it solidified them a corner for them to have their business, right? Did I move over? I see something most revealing here. Mason Bros. Is that what this cursor is laying on a business that used to be, the name of the business was called Mason Brothers. I'm seeing this right. I know I'm seeing this right. This is not a joke, guys. So I'm not making this up. I've been waiting a long time to do this. I didn't really know how to go about it, but it's the best way I can because I'm not a professional at this. Just an amateur at this. So, looking at this map, and even if you don't see any of these first, middle initials, just know they own that too. But, like, just know. When you see like a father-son business and things like that in your local town, like a plumbing company, electricity, just know they're behind that too. You just can't have your own stoop without them giving you a pedestal to stand on. Just know that. Now, there are people who start their businesses and they are successful because God allows them to, and I do believe that God, obviously, anything is possible with him. God can allow people to have a pedestal anywhere at any time through his will, and these people can't stand in their way. I just want you to know that back in the day, like, this was the standard, and if you think that standard has changed till today, you can just count that out. Going through the rest of the city. FM. Brother. This is what it says? I think it says brother. This was someone's last name I can't pronounce. Brotherto? Not sure. This was somebody's first, middle, and last name. First, middle, initial, last name. Okay. Going over here. S.E. McConnell. Sounds Irish. T.S. Lewis Co. Just look at how many people got their own perch. Keep in mind when you go near the city, which Atlanta is a city, right? That's where you run into the higher degree Masons, because that's where they most likely would have the Scottish Rite and York Rite Lodge. So that everyone come from near and far to get initiated, have their perch in the city. You know, God said he didn't want people in the city. Of course, rebellion, man gonna do what he wants to do. Going over here, it looks like there's another. They're side by side. This last one I just reviewed here. There's another one called MC Kaiser. This sounds like a German name. And someone else over here called S.A. Clayton. There's a county named after Clayton. A lot of these folks, you're not just... If you look at a map of your own cities near where you live, major cities where you live, you're going to see the same thing. You're going to see that these businesses have a pattern, and these names are going to be scattered not just on these buildings. You might even see a street named after them, coordinating with their business. You may even see a school named after them. If you didn't know, Mason started the school system, public school system. You might even see a statue. It's probably not as likely, unless they were, like, really important. Even then. A good example of this would be somebody. Jesse Jackson. This guy's got a bunch of streets named after him in multiple cities. That's where you know that they've really, like, taken off into the stratosphere. In my opinion, they've descended into, like, hell. But when their names on multiple streets, not just in one city, but like most cities, like, say, Martin Luther King, that's a great example. M.L. King. You see that abbreviation. Sometimes you may see the full name. You may see Martin L. King. You may see Martin, like I said. So you may see different variations, but I really don't know what that means when they're in every single city. I do know that this man wasn't actually a Mason. He was made, this Martin Luther King Jr. was made a Mason on site at his funeral. So, but he did so much for the Brotherhood that they still recognize him in some major way today. I do believe that he had a lot of his meetups when he would go from city to city, when he would meet up with people who were in, like, different conferences and things, who were promoting getting rid of segregation. They would meet up in the lodge. They'd meet up in churches. That were lodges in disguise, too. So, basements and all kinds of things. But yeah, I mean, this is pretty much, I don't even think we need to see anymore, but, I mean, this city is expansive. It's a pretty good view of what's going on. I don't think it needs to be expanded upon anymore in this way. But, in case you needed more, there's one person down here named M.S. Selenius. Someone over here named R.W. Davis. Up here, A.C. Miller. I mean, and I'm sure they greeted each other the same way they do today. Some of these places are still here, see. Grady Hospital is still here today in Atlanta. Sometimes they see the middle initial, last name, John J. Woodside. Sometimes they put their full name in. S.C. Morris. Obviously, Haverty is still there today. It's a major chain now. Oh, what's that? Wait a minute. Whoa. See, this is why this was so perfect. There's some place called Mason Tires. Hold up. What do you mean, Mason Tires? That's crazy. See, it seems unbelievable, but it's true. That's why I found this map so amazing. And down here, T.L. Sword. J.K. Orr, J.P. Stevens. See how they lay, and then here's the thing, I didn't mention this. They lay out every single city before it's built, like at the lodge or whatever. They lay out every city. Like, I heard someone else say this, and confirm this too. They lay out all the city, all the streets, before they start building in every single town. Every single one before the city is even founded. So, like, that date that they say, oh, it was, like, established and founded, like, they were there before all that. So, you know, I'm sure most people already knew that, maybe. Here's more. M.K. Mulford. Over here, some other dude, John K. Seawinny, something. And their last name is cut off. It just goes on and on and on. Now, Marietta is a real city here in Atlanta still. Could have been named after some Mason. I have no clue. I should know at this point. Since I'm from the metro Atlanta area. F.M. Stewart. Now, this is the second person, if you notice, on this map that has FM. This may not actually be someone's name. FM could stand for their F&AM Lodge. And, in which case that would make sense, and that would make them even more anonymous. Now, I did want to mention that the reasoning for these initials is for purely being anonymous. When they say commit a crime, it helps them get away with it easier, in addition to the courthouse being all Masons as well, from the sheriff to the judge to even possibly the witnesses they bring in, even possibly the jury that they have, all that. They can set that whole thing up so that the man gets off scot-free, and what better way to remain anonymous? The first, middle initial disguise, and I mean, they can do whatever they want. This is like their playground, but here's the thing. When they die, it's literally hell that awaits, because they thought this was just like, you know, fun town for them. They can just kind of do corruptness and pull things under the rug and rip people off and underpay people or whatever. Because keep in mind, these are like all businesses here. A lot of people worked for them. Like corporations and things. They own the banks too. Yeah. Could mention that, but over them is the synagogue, and the synagogue is mentioned in the Bible as those people who say they're Jews, but they're not. Now, you can't say that word on YouTube, but who actually are of the synagogue of Satan. So they say that the lodge is like Kabbalah for dummies, because they teach them everything that they do in the synagogue, but they dumb it down. So just know temple, that's why they kind of sometimes say Masonic temple or lodge, or they're interchangeable. Temple, synagogue, lodge, all the same thing. Just all in concordance with each other, at least. I don't know, like, I'm going to go on for a couple more seconds on this map, but you get the gist of this here. J.N. Hirsch. Yeah. You get the gist of this. Some of them own multiple business. I just got done saying Hirsch. Now you see a guy named Hirsch over here. Some dude he partnered up with. H.J. Can't see if it's H or H.J. or H.I. H.J. or H.I. Carr. S.A. Williams. You're gonna see that this is the same in every single town you enter. Which is why sometimes you may get followed. At first I thought, okay, maybe I'm getting followed because, you know, they can see I'm black or whatever. No. I mean, that's a factor. But I'm thinking, you know, back in the day, you go in a sundown town, which is that town you go through back in the day, and the sun's down. They're telling you on the sign, we don't want no black people around here when the sun goes down. You know, something tells me that if it wasn't a black person that came through there at night, if they were feeling some kind of way, they might just pull you over and string you up even if you weren't black. It's just because the whole point behind this KKK wasn't like, I'm starting to feel like, black people, I'm black, like we're scapegoats here for their like ritualistic sacrifices because all they really were pagan. They like to get their bloodletting on, and guess what? Like, they did something really, 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 really similar, like hanging us on a tree. Like they did something very, very similar to Jesus Christ. He was hung on a cross. Cross is made out of wood. Wood comes from trees. So in a way, yeah, they were just... Something tells me you come through Atlanta, 1919, you got all these Masons waiting for you, don't matter what time of the day. Who knows what's going to happen to you? H.L. Singer. Oh, look, the chapel and the coffin place. They're ready for you. As soon as you cut their R.C. Cassell. Yeah, I'm done with this. Look at Haynes Street. You see, there was a business named Haynes, so I said that they'll have a street named after them, and they'll have like a business named after them. J.E. Rowley and Borough. So yeah, that's the gist. That's the map of Atlanta. Look at that. What a great find, right? 1919. There's more where that came from. There's so many more maps online. Like, you gotta explore. Okay, this is just like a general photo. Some rando place called Dodge City back in like 1874. This was 1919. We're going back. 1874. Now look at this. Every time you come into... Oh my goodness. Every time that you come into a town, like I said, doesn't matter what size. We just got done looking at a city. This is a small town, like a saloon type town. Everyone's waiting for you. When you come out, notice like in the old movies, like as soon as you come into town, like they're ready to shoot you. Like they're ready to have like a showdown. Like it's most likely theatrical and for entertainment, but something tells me there's some reality based off those movies. So your main warehouse store where you get everything and stuff, your main stores, like that you run into when you get to that small saloon town, everyone's staying outside, hats on. This is a thing that Masons have always done, wearing top hats. You know what they say about the J words, those who say they're Jews and they're not. They're the synagogue of Satan. They know how they say they wear the small hats or whatever. They kind of got that from them too, but how they had that style for a long time where they wore these fedoras and top hats for a long time. Like, it was kind of so that they could camouflage and make it like a style for everyone to wear, but also like this was just what they wore as a part of their regalia in the lodge. So I'm thinking it might even apply in the 1800s as well, before they even had it. Before they even made this top hat really it was like a mainstream thing up through like once you get into the 20th century, like 1880s through early 20th century, and they're wearing these top hats all the way up till like, I don't know, like the 1930s, I believe. I could be wrong on that, but once it became a mainstream thing now, it's harder to distinguish who's who, right? But this hat thing is a fixture, no doubt. So, but anyways, I just wanted to point out there's this business. It's G.M. Hoover. Of course, he's selling liquor. Now look at your town where you live at today. Who do you think it's a wheat or do you think it's a wheat or a tare? You know this parable in the Bible of the wheat and the tares? Who do you think is selling liquor and cigars to people back then? I think wheat or tear. Trying to get people off track, not thinking about God, addicted, in bondage. Yeah. Wheat or tear. Uh-huh. Yeah, but here we go. Here's another. Uh-huh. From 1875, a year later, in the same city. This is just like probably further down the street. Oh, you get everything. And I wanted to mention that there's stores still like this in really small towns in the South, like, because I know, because I've ventured outside in the boondocks, and there's like stores they've kept intact since like the 1940s. And guess what? They still sell everything that you need there, but don't dare walk in there. I mean, just because it's there doesn't mean walk into it. I mean, there are some places, just because it's there, it's almost like a trap. Like, walk in there, I mean, it's on you. You made that free will choice to walk in there. I mean, just because it's there and they're offering all this stuff doesn't mean go in there. They're waiting, their terrors are waiting for you in there to greet you. Especially now, like, you know how weird it is for me walking into places now when I don't wear a mask? It's like, it's even more different now than it was before. Like, if you wear a mask, who's to say that they're going to treat you any better if they know that you're wheat? But something tells me, and it's even more intensified now because of the whole mask thing. Like, I don't really wear a mask. Like, okay, I've worn a mask, before, not because of, like, oh, fear. Like, I think I just gave in to, like, the pressure when I was working at some place for some time, and then also when I was working, and I'm still working at this place, but I just stopped wearing it. But now that I just don't flat out wear it, like, I started to feel like nothing really changed. The terrors just now have an excuse to really wild out now, and do their narcissistic controlling thing really hard. But so anyway, you go into an old place like this, which doesn't exist anymore, but a modern day version that's hung around for like 50, 60 years. They sell everything that you need, just like how they have up here on this sign. Are firearms, ammunition, hardware, lumber. You got drugstore right next door. You got groceries. I mean, if they had cars back then, they'd have like a little, like, closet in the back, and they'd pull out whatever you need whenever you need, like, a little bit of gas, you ran out of gas, they have some in the back, even if they didn't have, like, a gas station yet, because I saw some old video, like, some of the first cars, and he ran out of gas, and he rolled it to some random store, and they just, like, in town, and they just pulled out this, like, cartridge of gasoline out of a closet in the back. And I was just like, so is this like a magic trick or something? Like, they have everything there. And I do mean everything. You can go to a gas station today and they don't advertise stuff that they don't want to, but they have other stuff there too they're selling. It's a whole nother thing. Businesses doing drug trafficking, all this other stuff. It's a whole nother subject. But human trafficking too. That's probably the reason for the saloons and the girls that weren't really girls, a lot of them, or women impersonators. There's been human trafficking, drug trafficking. Anyway, here's going to be the culmination here. Here is a lodge that is local to me. Guess what the number of the lodge is? Wouldn't guess. It's Lodge 33. Yeah. So here's a great example of what I was saying. First initial, middle initial, last name. This is how their names are archived in this here roster. here. I'm not reading off their names, like, because that's a lot of people, but you see how what I'm talking about here: first, middle, initial, last name. First initial, middle, initial, last name. This is just like over the course of a decade here. There was more than this. They just didn't list all of them. There had to be more than this. This town is not that small, but I think about these names and I think about how there are more where that came from in every single city, small or large. There's most likely a website you can look up. And I think about these names, though. I think about these last names, and I've seen some of these streets around where I live, and buildings and things, and they're named after these people. It could just be a small, short road. They traded their eternal soul for a road, street, building, school. This one guy down here, he's got an entire Air Force base named after him. There's some people in here that have a airport named after them. Just look at the pattern here. I put that first page up because it had a great pattern of these names here. But you'll notice, even if they have their full name, there's still an initial in there. Just what did they get up to that they needed to stay so, that the majority of them needed to stay so anonymous? You see the expressions on their faces and things? Got them all the way up till today. There's one person up there. See how they're still doing it today? That was the 2020s. This is the 1840s. See, there's an example down here, the 3 initials and the last name. CMF Garnett. Anyway, that was a good example. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention they were past masters of the lodge, grand masters and things. Now moving on to real world examples that people would know in the modern day. So the guy who started JCPenney's, before they took the initials out of the name, they used to have a J.C. in there, and they took it out eventually. First off, I want to say the initials JC, that's Jesus Christ's initials, so that may not be on accident either. But kind of like they have this restaurant down here in Metro Atlanta called J. Christopher's. Literally, J. Christopher's. Jesus Christ. Right there. But anyway, that could be the inspiration for that restaurant too, I'm pretty sure. Anyway, it says, formerly it was known as J.C. Penney, and J.C. Penney was a man who existed before he passed on. His name was James Cash Penney, and he founded J.C. Penney. F.W. Woolworth, this is really back in the day, before my time. He had a department store as well. Never really changed the spelling, except for just took away the first 2 initials altogether, and it became Woolworth, or Woolworths. And it went out of business, it went out of business in 1997, so, yep. This is a random article I pulled up from Bella Magazine. This is a Black History Month spotlight. J.D. Harrison, notice, doing the hands, he's being real subtle but he's doing that pyramid. He's being subtle. I don't know why he's being subtle, but J.D. Harrison, they didn't, editors and things today, they don't really feel like doing the most, so they don't put like initial periods, but it's J.D. if you were to spell it out. And that's just, the fact that he's being featured and stuff, and I've never even heard of him, I thought that might be important. Here's one that everyone probably knows, especially my generation. R.L. Stine. It's clear he changed the spelling of his name. He changed his whole name altogether, possibly. And then made like a pen name. And then another pen name. And then another pen name. He's got like several pen names. He is the guy who was behind the infamous Goosebumps series, but not really, because if you knew about the Songwriter's Secret, which is on Unplug'em's channel, is talking about who really writes the music. It is the devil, it's himself. So if you think there's anything different in the book world, the magazine world, just like, it's just so in their face right now. These people, you really think he created all these books, and it was like the kids' version of Twilight Zone, and the guy who made the Twilight Zone series met a very untimely end. And I do think that may have been retribution from God, his untimely young death. And, does he look like a good character? Like, look in his eyes. If you have discernment, you can see, what I'm seeing here. It's just, he's dead-eyed. He's similar to Stephen King, which that was not a good man either. Man, did he spew anything good onto this world? Anything pleasant, motivational, positive, anything at all. Oh, you think he was able to sell this R.L. Stine 400 million copies of his books? That was like over a decade ago, right? It's when the kids were still reading books a lot, physical hard copy books. Think about digital sales, how they spiked with the next generation. Then they got the series, then they got all the series that have come out. You think that he's not rolling in it? Do you think he is behind all that? But anyway, I wanted to make this video talking about these people who are not so, this is all what it is. This is what it's all about. Subtlety, and hidden in the details. This is what it's all about. This is the enemy and what he's all about. I just had to get this out. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but this is the best way I know how right now. And hopefully someone listens to it one day, understands what I'm really saying here, the gravity of what I'm saying here, that is true. And I just thank you for listening, and God bless you, and have a great day.